Hi, I'm Carmen Swanwick. I'm UDOT's Chief Structural Engineer, and this is Talking Orange. I'm here to talk about UAS, which is Unmanned Aircraft Systems. And we started this program a couple years ago, developing a policy and procedure. And we thought that this was a technology that could really benefit the department when it comes to bridge inspections, survey, and communicating with the public.
Right now we have 3 different UAVs that have different capabilities to use for different uses. One has thermal, a 38 megapixel camera. It can actually see up, that we purchased for bridges. We also have another one that's better in winds. That's a Phantom 4. That one does much better in winds in areas where the others have a hard time. It also has good capabilities for doing mapping processes. And then we have a 3DR Solo that's good, that can be used to tether and actually have a lot longer flight time if you tie it down to a battery. So each has their uses and has their capabilities that some work better than others, but that's what we're testing them for. Some of the uses that we've actually used the UAVs for is on bridge inspection. There's a lot of different areas we can use those. Typically, an inspector will have to get out there and get within arm's length and actually try and inspect that structure. What we're able to do with the UAV is get it out there quickly. We can see where the areas are. We've also learned that we can use the UAVs to do mapping when they're doing their delaminations. And we've tried out using thermal as well. It's one of our other drones we have. So with a thermal, if you get there right in the right time of day, you actually see the pavement, the temperatures will change at different rates. And we believe what we can see is delamination on the deck without having to drag a chain, without having to close a lane, without having to have a guy out there in traffic. So it's one of those big areas for safety that we're hoping we can see what can be achieved using UAVs instead of the traditional methods.
The past couple of years, we've been thinking that drones could have some usefulness in collecting data for pavement conditions and asset management. We're in a test here right now to try it, to collect mainly the cracking. When I talk about distress, I talk about cracking, rutting on airports, potholes. Well, we don't call it potholes, we call them depressions. And a drone would be very useful in collecting that kind of data.
Some of the challenges right now, the biggest challenge we have is staying within all the FAA rules, which is very important. And one of those rules is to not fly over people. So when we have areas that are really congested, where people are walking outside and they're not in a structure where they're protected, that's how the rules go, then we can't fly over them. So that's one of the struggles we have right now. It's a new technology. The other struggle that we have is people's perception of the UAVs. And they always see it as, oh, it's this thing that's ruining fires, it's spying in my backyard. So we're trying to change that perception and show people what the tools can actually be used for, how they can help with safety. For instance, in an accident, if we have an accident, they've got to close down the road until they get it all surveyed. With a UAV, we can fly it up in the air, get a map of it, take a picture, open it back up to traffic in a lot quicker time. So the public is going to be much happier, because they're going to be on their way instead of sitting for 2 hours waiting for a surveyor to survey the scene. So those are some of the areas where it's really helping. So what we do when we first do a pre-flight on this, it's the same as what you'd actually do in a plane. So you've got a pre-flight checklist. You'll go down and check things and make sure everything's situated. You'll check your gimbal, you'll check the legs, check to make sure the battery's in, you check that all the props are on and secured. We'll also check the engines before we take off. So you go down the list of the checklist on every item, make sure everything's functioning properly before you fly. One of those things is to check for all the rules in the area, to make sure there's not any TFRs, as they're called, which is a temporary flight restriction. You also make sure that you're not in any controlled airspace. And you also contact the people that are around you, such as Life Flight or any other people that might be flying in the area that you might have conflicts with, such as the National Guard as well, because they're flying low. So once you contacted all those people, that's part of your pre-flight. Then you do your pre-flight checklist. Once you get all that completed, everything checks out, that's when you're ready to take off and fly. So we got one last thing to do here. We'll actually check and make sure that the motors are running properly. And then once that's working properly, we'll take off.
So we've done some initial use with UAS, and we really see the benefits that it provides to projects, from time savings, cost savings. So we anticipate using this a lot more in the future in all aspects. As Carlos would say, thank you for all you do. Be safe, buckle up, put your phones down, and remember, you keep Utah moving.
The wind wasn't blowing so hard I get it even closer. I don't think either one of us want to face plant.
That's okay.